power to create and delete laws and nullify the federal government's power at the county level. Because what's already started in a couple states, Connecticut and Delaware, is the sheriffs are being disbanded and replaced with Homeland Security as the new law enforcement.
Okay.
And I started trying to bring focus on that, and that's why I started trying to get the sheriffs on board. And there were like 470 of them, and now it's down to 340 that are on board with the Constitution. And it's making me think, what the hell? What's really going on?
That's pretty scary. That's really, I mean, just to have a number, like you said, 470 down to 320, you're absolutely right. Like, what is going on? And if they are, like you said, they're being replaced with Homeland Security, is this, an issue? Like you said, at one point, they're on board. Have they gotten bought off? Things I wonder.
Or scared off. But
I think scared off.
Okay, but now the other thing too, Mike, is just recently Fox News released some numbers talking about the sheriffs that are on board, and they stated, quote, 39 states out of the 50 have sheriffs in counties in those states that will defend the Constitution.
Well, where I'm getting the numbers from is, when we first started this drive, it was part of the gun rights or gun rallies that were going on. January 15th, I went to the one in Sacramento, and I started passing out these letters to the sheriff. And I got in front of two news cameras, Channel 3 and Channel 10, I think it was, and they did interviews with me about the letters to the sheriff and why I was doing this, and neither one of them appeared on the news. And then after we made a big stink about it on the internet, the National Sheriff's Association came out and said that all 3,080 U.S. sheriffs are on board. But I did another radio show a while back called the Constitutional Sheriff's Posse because I was trying to get in touch with Richard Mack about some of my ideas. And that's where I found that honor roll. And there's only 340 sheriffs on the honor roll now.
Okay. Now, it could just be that, other sheriffs are, going to other sites, and there's just not one universal one.
I would go by the honor roll because, Richard Mack's known as the top cop, and I would think that all decent law enforcement would be listening to what he's got to say.
Now, when you're talking about... I'm sorry, but when you're talking about getting them on board, maybe we should clarify for the listeners exactly, what you're talking about when you say defend the Constitution.
Well, protect our rights. The government's just driving us all into bankruptcy, everybody. And there's no need for that. We can create plenty of jobs out here. We can fix the system. Can you imagine, look at all the cities across the country that hire fleets of landscapers, and they're all illegals, but they hire them through a private company, so it's all good on paper. Imagine the cost that each one of these landscapers costs each city, and they're, times it by 1,000, and it gets up into hundreds of millions and billions of dollars of how much we're paying these landscapers to come and live in our country.
And the avid listener here added into the chat, to our question. He said maybe some of the sheriffs are worried about recall election. So basically what he's saying is that at first they were on board until, the constituents or the political wave came through, and now they're not on board because they're too worried about losing their job than defending the Constitution. Well,
there's got to be some middle ground there, because if we lose our constitutional rights, then what? You're not going to have a job anyway. Security's coming down.
I agree with you 100%. I mean, I'm right on board with you. It's sad to see what's happening here. But, like I said before, now what can we do as citizens to help with any sort of part of this movement?
There's a link called usacops.com, and through that you can find all your law enforcement agencies. What we were doing is just getting letters to the sheriff and hitting up, letters to the sheriff, hitting up every Facebook page we could find and getting pressure on them, and contacting their state associations, and contacting them through email, phone, and the links on the computer.
And also, I think to alleviate a little bit of what Avid was saying there, if we, the people, get together the way that we're supposed to, and the way that I'm hoping is going to work here, then, the sheriffs, I hope, would jump on board with defending a constitution, because the people who have the power of electing them or not electing them are going to be the ones that they're going to be worried about at that point. And I know personally, in my local sheriff, if I find out, that he is not going to be on board with this, that man is not getting my vote. And like I said, it might be my only vote, but I hope through this, medium right here, that hopefully more people can feel exactly the same way I can. I do. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. And, we actually had a copy of Mike's letter that he did distribute out to a bunch of newspapers and websites and stuff like that, and other sheriffs, and we put it on our Facebook page. If you want to go check it out, it's at facebook.com/resistance USA, and it's down there. It's down there about midway through the page, I'd say. But the actual letter, where it's a pretty standard letter.
Maybe you can can you explain a little bit what's in that letter?
Yeah.
I was looking for it. It's been a while since I've read it.
Oh, no, that's all right. I understand. I've been there. Now, while he's doing that, actually, is JJ still around?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh, okay. I'm just wondering. I haven't heard anything from you in a while. Any thoughts on you while he's looking that up?
Oh, go ahead, Mike.
It's each one's a little different, but it was meant to read that the sheriff was swearing his oath to the Constitution and to protect we the people. And the way it was worded was to make sure that the sheriff got out there in public and let the public know, I'm the guy that's going to lead you in this crisis, kind of thing, because that's what we're headed for.
Right. Well, I was just going to say, even sheriffs in the sheriff in Milwaukee warned that any kind of gun ban or or confiscation that they're proposing would lead to a second civil war.
Yeah.
So, and that's Milwaukee. I mean, Wisconsin, typically Democrat, pretty liberal state, like Minnesota, but and that's what they're saying. And actually, from talking with you, I actually contacted my county sheriff, and I actually got to talk to the guy, and he flat out told me that my county will, him or his deputies will not enforce any federal gun ban or gun legislation.
Yeah.
That they can't do that. That they're bound by the Constitution to protect and serve it. And it's like, thank you. That's all I wanted to know. So,
well, what I'm being told now, the problem is with that is that we believe that they've sworn an oath to the Constitution of the United States, and what I'm being told is that they've sworn an oath to the Constitution of their state.
Okay.
Because that's why I'm after all the sheriffs to become oath keepers too. My sheriff, Keith Royal, took his oath to Stewart Rhodes, I think February 19th in my town here.
Now,
so that was kind of cool.
Now, a question that I have is, Nick had mentioned this before, and maybe I can get your opinion on this, Mike. Here, do you think that there's a solution without bloodshed or without war? Are you hoping that that's possible, or do you foresee the gun laws being executed in that sense, and then this going to the next level?
It's coming. Whoever runs the UN decided that we're going to have a worldwide gun ban so we can keep everybody under our thumb one way or another. About 2 years ago, I was reading that China published an article that said that they had 30 million surplus men to that one-child rule that came out years ago because of the overpopulation, and that they had considered a small-scale war to reduce their numbers.
Wow.
And then it seems kind of funny that a couple of years later, look what's going on. There's Chinese troops in Mexico, and we own trillions of dollars.
Well, see, this is borderlining on where I get into my conspiracy theories and stuff, what you're talking about basically is a plan for population reduction, not just in China, but, there's plans for this supposedly throughout the world, to shrink down this. And this is, without getting too far into the crazy level here, because once you start talking conspiracy, people are programmed that, conspiracy means crazy and stop listening, and this guy doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. But we see these things happening, like you said. You brought up the China point. If that was something that they saw in the books, that they had discussed before, and now look at the situation, maybe it does have some correlation to it.
I don't know. I'd rather be wrong, but did you hear that in Idaho there's a 200 square mile area that's been given to the Chinese, and that they've created a colony there?
Same in Michigan as well.
Really?
Yep. Yeah, there's actually plans on giving China Iowa, Missouri, and Nebraska.
I would like some explanation on this, please. Someone fill me in.
It's eminent domain. The U.S. has to pay off a debt, so they're going to pay it off with land to China.
Wow. See, that gets me into my next thing here, though, too. A lot of Americans, and I find this because of the world that we live in. We live outside of our means, which has caused a lot of problems that we have today. Like you said, and the fact that we do have a huge debt with China. 100%. Nothing comes from America anymore because we don't want to work for it. We have this American sense of entitlement where everything should be given to us. We want it faster, sooner, everything possible that makes our lives easier instead of working hard for it. And like you said, that's what's gotten us to where we are today. Now, I don't know if this is a possibility. It's the first time I've ever heard of this, but, it blows my mind. Blows my mind that this is even something that's being considered.
It blows my mind. Why are we borrowing money and then giving it to other countries to feed or do whatever to help another country out? It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever.
No, it doesn't. Now, Mike, I know you were wondering about earlier about the sheriffs and whether or not they swore an oath to their state constitution or the federal constitution, and I think I found the answer for you. Here in Article 6, Paragraph 3 of the U.S. Constitution states the senators and representatives before mentioned and the members of the several state legislators and all executive and judicial officers, both of the United States and of the several states, shall be bound by oath or affirmation to support this Constitution, but no religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office of the public trust under the United States. So, there you go.
Okay, I still don't.
So they did swear an oath or didn't?
No, according to the Constitution, Article 6, Paragraph 3, they swore an oath to the Constitution because it states, any state legislators and their executive and judicial officers. Sheriffs are executive officers, being law enforcement. Yeah. So they did swear an oath upon the federal Constitution. So according to the Constitution itself.
Well, I want to. I'm sorry. You guys were trying to get back to the Constitution thing, but I'm reading more comments here in the chat, and it said they're too overpopulated. We're obligated to give them some states to make room, and I don't know about all this once again, but there has got to be a better way out there. There's got to be some way for us to be able to repay these things without giving up actual land. Like, I just want any American out there listening right now. And what are if some, let us know.
Well, one of the things was to get rid of all those herds of landscapers from the cities, and instead of planting parks with nasty trees and crap and grass. Plant them with clover, because